What's up, everybody? Rob J. Speck, the host here, and I'm glad to introduce another episode of Split Decisions here with the dudes, Ricky and Sean. What's up, bros?
What's good, my brother? What's good?
Man. Was that a Hadouken or a Kamehameha?
No, I just wanted to tell everybody, fuck anime, stop watching anime, and I hope that drew you motherfuckers in.
Boom. Well done. All right. Getting drawn in. That's the name of the fight game. Honestly, draw them in, pack them in, sell them out. That's what it's all about. Fight game that hasn't really changed for a couple hundred years in that regard. But you know what is changing is who the boss is. Like, who's the big boss in the game? That's the story that slowly changes throughout time. And who knows? Sometimes it's the promoter, sometimes it's the athlete when they become mega stars. Sometimes it's hard to tell. And one case right now is the power structure between a very significant date in the near future, September 14th. I could have this wrong, fellas. Check me if I am, please.
Pretty sure you're right.
Sweet. Canelo is boxing at the T-Mobile, the usual home of the UFC. While the UFC is putting on a pay-per-view event for Mexicans. Or Mexican Independence Day, not necessarily for Mexicans, we didn't say that, but they're trying. So they're going against the greatest star of Mexico while saying they're doing it for Mexican independence, which, do your own math. And then the guy who's sponsoring the event at the Sphere, the once and only time thing, is Turki Al-Sheikh, who is now trying to become the Dana White of boxing, who doesn't get along with Canelo, the biggest star of boxing. This is a power triangle, all because of a sphere. I'm running out of shapes. I'm running out of puns. Guys, here we are. It's a mess. It's weird. And the question, I guess, behind all of this, the thing that someone's throwing out there is who's going to do better at the pay-per-views? Right, this has now come down to a really, really weird battle. The battle of pay-per-views, which then we hear people argue all the time. Pay-per-view models are dead. Pay-per-view models are dead. They're stupid. Well, if they are so stupid and they are so dead, then why the fuck is Dana and Canelo and Turki in a big fucking dick battle right now to find out who it is? Sean, looks like you're ready to say something. Go for it.
Yeah, I'll say something. I think Dana might be back trying to crack down on these illegal streamers. Watch out. He's going to kick through the doors, bust through the doors, gun them all down. Just kidding. I think that was Dana from a couple years ago. I think still the numbers are going to be the same as usual. I don't know if the Sphere draws in more numbers than any other fight. I think you'll maybe see more replays. I think that's where you get more viewership now anyway. The clips that these companies post, ESPN, UFC post these clips, you get more views on those than anything else. And I think that's how they gauge the engagement, because a lot of these pay-per-views have been selling the same numbers over and over again. And I don't think we've seen a good pay-per-view model in a long time, even with the big UFC 300 card. You don't see cards breaking into the top numbers as you see with boxing, right? Boxing seems to do it over and over again. Do I think Canelo can compete, though? Historically, this has been a day that Canelo's ran. But UFC's pulling all the strings together, and it's not just the UFC, Rob. Like you said, it's a weird triangle, and it got Turki in there as well, who's pumping a lot of money into this, and they gave it an interesting venue to compete with. I think they were like, hey, you can watch a boxing match at the place we always put fights on, or you can watch a new fight in this new location sponsored by a lot of weird shit, dude.
A lot of weird shit. I like it.
A lot of moving parts.
It's too many moving parts, in my opinion, to be honest. Real quick before I pass the mic, a big thing, I just want to talk about this pay-per-view advantage. It is for boxing. And the reason for this is boxing has conditioned its fan base since the 80s or beyond. Basically, since the birth of the pay-per-view model, the boxing fans have been fucking carrying the boats for forever on this, ever. The funny part about this is the direct opposite in nature for UFC fans. As a day one guy there, I remember being small, but not really. The point is, everybody else from the Pioneer era has the same story. Most of them most of them did not watch a lot on the pay-per-view because, well, it was so new. A lot of people end up catching it on VHS or some older format of video, later on. Or even if you did support the UFC and you were a Pioneer fan like me and you did suffer through all this shit, then it means you went through the McCain invasion of the pay-per-view model where you couldn't even buy it. So as an early UFC fan and as a fan throughout it all, you kind of learned how to find the UFC through alternative means and by whatever means necessary. So by both cultures of the sport have grown up with this model meaning completely different things to us. Ricky, Canelo meaning everything to everybody in the boxing game and the pay-per-view game. He's fucking king. Your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of a mistake on the UFC. To be honest with you, not necessarily because of what they're doing. Like we hear Dana always talk. I've been continuously talking about how much it's going to cost him, right? The price it's going to take, how much money it's going to take to run a show in the Sphere, and the multiple trucks and all the different bells and whistles. And man, it's already up to X amount of dollars, and this is why the ticket prices are so high. Whatever it is,
Dumpty over there.
Yeah, like so much stuff going on. It's like, okay, cool. If you're going to have an event that big, it has to be a standalone event. Like you got to make sure the date is right. And when you look at it, I mean, you're right, Rob. You said Dana was like not trying to allude to it, but he was alluding to the fact it's for Mexican people. No, Dana White said, and this is quoting Dana, this is going to be a love letter to the Mexican people. Cool, man. You can't do that while Canelo is also fighting. Because guess what? Canelo Alvarez is the Mexican people. There's only one guy I've seen sell out a fucking stadium with a giant mariachi band behind him, and that's Canelo Alvarez, right? Canelo has that demographic. He's always going to have that demographic until the next Mexican boxer comes around and takes that demographic as well. So when you put on the event in the Sphere, it was awesome. I just don't think it was great for the date, and you're forcing it to be a Mexican card, right? Because let's be honest, the UFC doesn't have a big Mexican draw. The best opportunity for them would have been when they had 3 Mexican champions. They missed that opportunity. Alexa Grasso isn't. I mean, what are we gonna do? Alexa Grasso versus Canelo? Who's the bigger draw? Like, come on, man. It's not even. You know what I mean? If Canelo woke up with Alexa Grasso's money, he'd jump off a fucking cliff. Like, it's not even close. It's not even in comparison. So now you're trying to. Okay, we're gonna have a Mexican card, but it's not gonna be a Mexican card because it's headlined by Georgian and an American, and they're both gonna say they're Mexican, but they're not. So like, what are we doing here? I think they dropped the ball. It would have been much better if they just had the Sphere at some other time where they didn't have to force a Mexican card either, and they could just have the biggest fucking names, like a UFC 300 at the Sphere. That's what they should have used it for, not this weekend while Canelo Alvarez is going. It's going to be split, man. And to be honest, I think Canelo and boxing, I don't think it's going to dip too much because the UFC's on, but I could see a situation where the UFC pay-per-views do dip a little bit because Canelo's on as well. So it's going to be tough, and it sucks for us too, the viewers, like, because we're going to watch both. Right, all 3 of us, I think we're going to have both cards on. We're going to be watching both, but it's like I would love to give my undivided attention to the UFC Sphere. Now I'm going to be watching both simultaneously. Hopefully, both main events are on at the same time, or I might kill myself. But hopefully, they plan that shit out. But yeah, man, for me, it's just another fucking miss from the UFC, and they're still going to do it right. It's still going to be an awesome card. Don't get me wrong. But it's just these little decisions, and we saw Dana right before say it with not going to Mexico when they had the 3 champs out. He was like, "Yeah, we fucking dropped the ball. We really messed up on that." Why do we continue to drop the ball and mess up on dates and cards and who's on them? It's just not like the UFC, at least what we've come to know of the UFC.
Well, my man, you said something that's hilarious right there. It's supposed to be a love letter to the Mexican people. This shit's coming off across as 2 a.m. drunk text, bro. Like,
yeah.
This is this ain't it. Like,
this is you up, you awake.
I don't know why people are complaining, dude. O'Malley and Vashvili are obviously very used Mexican last names. They're more than the name Alvarez. I think it's crazy to begin with. This whole thing is like, it's almost like a South Park skit or a Family Guy skit. It's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Bro, no, for real,
It's a Georgian versus an Irish American, and it's fucking a love letter to the Mexican people.
Put on by a dude from Boston and Saudi Arabia.
It's Saudi Arabia, and they're forced to wear like Mexican Aztec logo kits. I'm like, what the fuck? You're right, bro. What are we doing?
Here's everybody the food for the evening: Taco Bell.
Just copy
free
and paste
chalupas for everyone.
Copy and paste all of Mario Barrios's walkouts for the last like 6 fights and just make everybody wear that shit. Like,
bro, for real.
Shout out Mario Barrios.
Shout out Mario Barrios.
Your style's great, dude.
They're gonna tell Rob. They're gonna tell the history of Mexican, right? All
brother,
of it's gonna be in the background.
Yeah,
boxing.
This is getting my, like, I'm not Mexican, but my Spanish blood is like, to fuck, motherfucker. Because like listen, I have no skin in the game, but this is like observing group here. One, I said this before. The UFC didn't give a flying shit about the brothers and sisters in Mexico this whole time. Specifically, I'm not saying they didn't like them. There was just no focus this whole time. This UFC Noche thing is completely new school, targeted, forced because they want to enter the Latin American community so fucking badly. That's this whole thing. So you're using a gimmick, and then just like Ricky just said, dude, it's just that simple. Like when you're talking about reaching out to the Mexican people, you're talking about fight fans. And you're talking about fight fans, you cannot go against Canelo. This is 1+1 type stuff or whatever. So leaving it alone.
Do you guys remember that one card where it was, I don't remember. If you guys remember, tell me. It was a fight where, I mean, it was a big boxing match, overlapped the UFC card, and one of the cards waited for the other and even played the other card on the big screen. Do you guys remember what I'm talking about?
Yes, and it was Canelo's fight. Canelo drug his fight out longer, right? I think
the UFC should do the same thing for the Mexican people, because if they want to celebrate Mexican Heritage Day the right way, they should use the Sphere to play Canelo's fight and wait for Sean O'Malley and Merab to fight afterward. That brilliant, dude.
Let Merab and Sean take a little nap back there.
There's 3,000 tickets that have yet to be sold right there.
See, dude, you're a fucking genius. Everybody's been wondering why the Sphere event is so expensive. Dana's going on, it's so expensive. If you guys know, trying to get pay-per-views for commercial venues is like 10 times more expensive than your private purchase. So he had to buy public viewing rights for the entire Sphere, one frame at a time, to run the Canelo fight. You're fucking genius, Sean. You're genius, bro. I like the vision. All right. Well, someone's vision, someone connected to the Sphere events, not showing his smartness. I'm going to just give him a little highlight because he deserves it right now. Merab. Still posting. That is the topic right now. If you haven't been following this brother, he cut his eye leading. He's the main event, obviously going to the Sphere. Duh. He cut his eye in training leading into the fight, which then he posted about it. It's not cutting yourself that was silly. It's what you did with it afterwards. We already covered this before, how Mr. White talked in length about, hey, we can help you out. We'll make it better. He didn't go that route, pissed off Dana, made a thing of it, got the eyes of attention of everybody, especially his opponent. Obviously knows that he's wounded now. And then post himself removing stitches. I don't even know what to say any further than this. This dude is demonstrating stupidity well above his weight class. We're making jokes about that before we started recording, so I'm just gonna say it. I like Merab a lot, but man, like you are not impressing right now, bro. Like, gotta be honest, this is not good. Ricky, since I know you're a major supporter of Sean, the biggest supporter in North America, president of the Sean O'Malley fan club, I'm gonna keep saying that until he gets you in trouble, by the way. So Merab doing this, like, does this maybe worry you as a Sean fan? Like the fight gets fucked off for some reason because this stuff?
In a way, yeah. Like obviously we want the fight to happen. The fight has to take place. So when anybody's doing idiotic things, right? And it's not just the cut and posting it and removing the staples on stuff. It's just everything, right? He's a wild guy. You never really know what to expect from him. So yeah, you always kind of lead up to Merab and going like, we don't know if he's going to get in some trouble. We don't know if he's going to get some infection or do something that causes the fight to go off. But I mean, as far as Merab goes, like I think Merab would have to lose a limb in order for him not to at least try to show up and fight. So I think the fight's still going to happen. I'm not too concerned about it. For me, it's just like, for Merab, why don't you want things to go smoothly? Like, this is the issue I have with Merab and Aljamain Sterling. I'm going to throw him in the boat too. You got two guys that do everything in their power to get the people that actually matter in the company to dislike them, right? It doesn't, all the stuff you do for the fans and all the shit talk and all the wild antics that Merab does to try to get, none of that shit matters. The only thing that matters is, hey, the guys that actually cut your checks, the guys who actually have some say-so, the guys who can actually make your path and your career easier or harder, you're constantly, as Dana White said, fucking with them. And they both do it constantly and then play the victim of, I don't know why they do this to us. We always feel like we're being treated unfairly. It's like, well, yeah, dude, because everybody, if you've been in a position where you're have employees under you in any position, right? Yeah, man, there's some guys that you just get along with and they're cool. And it's like, hey, this is easy. They might not be the best of workers, but they're fucking great people. When you see them, you're in a good mood. And then you see these other guys where it's like, man, they might be a great worker, but fuck, I hate looking at that person because they're so annoying. They do little shit that pisses me off. And that's what Merab and Aljo are. They just constantly do that and then act surprised when it's like, why do I have to go this long without getting a title shot? Why don't you promote me the way I want to be promoted? Why don't you give me any credit that I think I should get? Well, it's because you keep doing things to piss them off. You keep doing these little things that are just, one, unprofessional as fuck, running up into the stands, and you don't know what's going to happen with that fan. You don't know if that fan, I mean, what? So if Merab runs in there and that fan isn't a complete pussy and actually stands up and does something, what happens? Merab whoops his ass and gets a charge and the fight's off? Or what happens if Merab takes a bad step, fucking twists his ankle, falls down the thing? Like, we're not thinking before we act, and that's just Merab's thing, bro. It's just act and then think about it after. So don't play victim when the UFC, because trust and believe that the UFC top dogs are like, for the love of God, Sean, knock him the fuck out. Like, you think they want that guy to be champion and have to base a bunch of pay-per-views around Merab? Hell no. They're like, Sean, please get him out of here. And guess what, Merab? You're going to have a long track back to another title shot if you lose.
Guess what? Secret research has shown doing without thinking is the number one way to beat Sean O'Malley. So Merab, you might have what it takes. Sean, you got what it takes. What are you thinking about this guy and his posting?
We're fighters. Of course we're not going to think. Yeah, I don't know. The whole Merab situation, like, I'm a fan of Merab, like I'm a fan of a few other fighters. It's like I can't get behind what the guy does, like, because it's so stupid, but it's funny and I like watching it. And it's like Paulo Costa and stuff. And I'm not a fan of your fight style necessarily, but like I would never want to see him out of the top group, top 5, top 10, top 15, just because it's a name that I want to see relevant and I like watching. Do I necessarily think these guys are championship material? No. The guys that I just mentioned, Paulo, Merab, more guys like that, right? But at the same time, he's not helping himself, right? As much as I like the shit that he's doing, he's not helping his case.
Zero.
He's doing dumb shit. It's like, it's almost laughable. It's like, it's what's up with these guys? It's turning into an episode of The Office or something where all of these guys are weird fucking scenarios. It's like the second scenario tonight that I'm like, this seems like The fucking Office.
Dude, isn't it weird? I mean, social media, a place where no one fucking agrees on nothing, right? When Merab posts his cut using, I seen everybody of every color, creed, race, nationality go, what the fuck are you doing? And that's not the right scissors. Like, I'd never seen a consensus online in my life in MMA, and literally everybody was on the same page. Like, dog, what are you doing? 1 and 2, that's not the right scissors, bro. Like, I just was so impressed by that in a weird way.
Merab I'm convinced this man has just ran loose since birth. Like, hey, go run free, and they just let him go, and he's done whatever he. No structure, no control, no guidance, just Merab in the wild.
There is a show that I used to watch when I was a kid called the Wild Thornberries.
Yup, yeah,
And there was
he's
this
a
little like
caveman,
kid
little-
creature. That's Merab. Like I think that was Merab, and then he just became an actual person and then grew into an adult. But that's him, bro. Like the one that doesn't really speak any words, just like that. That's Merab. I feel like that's just what goes on in his head 24/7 is just react. There's very few moments of thought and definitely no moments of thought of consequence to anything that he does. But again, that's fine, man. If you're for the people, like Sean just said, he likes Merab because of that. And most people are going to like Merab because of that. The people that really, really matter to your career are not going to like you because of that.
If Merab was ever in the American school system, that would have been the guy who lived in school suspension.
Oh yeah, you can get him to do anything.
In school suspension.
Yeah, you'll get him to light his own hair on fire. Yeah, 100%. Hey, Merab, you should spray paint Miss G's car. Okay.
He's pissing in a bottle in the back of class. Bathroom across the hall. Yeah, it's Merab.
Hey, some of us who pissed in the bottle in the back of class grew up to be legitimate adults. Okay, all right. Don't believe in stereotypes. That's the one thing. I'll leave on that one. Pissing off the wrong people, pissing off Dana White. Like this is pretty much a singular objective to not do if you're in the UFC, around the UFC, trying to be a part of the UFC. It's pretty much an understood thing. That's the one, bro. Don't piss him off. And Merab's doing it. But you know what's more impressive is maybe the media going against Mr. White, or just for a moment, at least showing some backbone, asking some questions, standing up for yourself every once in a while. Don't let somebody talk all over you. Speak up for yourself, right? But in this situation, Dana was answering a bunch of questions, and well, he answered some good answers that I want to talk about. But I want to shift this to Mr. Sean. Sean, you caught this story a little bit better than I, so I'm gonna pass the ball to you, bro. Give some highlights from the head-to-head with Mr. White.
Yeah, I didn't see Contender series on the 27th. If anybody needs the time stamp to remember this, but after that, I caught glimpses of the post-fight press conference with Dana White, where it almost seemed like the whole post-fight press conference wasn't about Dana White's Contender series. It was about, hey, is John Jones the GOAT? And to my surprise, Kevin Iole and John Morgan, and I can't name any other media people, but they stood on business. And I don't know, I'm not saying that John Jones isn't the GOAT, right? But I'm saying these guys stood on business to the point where they actually pressed Dana a little bit harder than I think anybody's ever pressed Dana, where he didn't leave this subject. I think it's to a point where Dana's bothered by it now, where if he's talking about it for this long, I'm not taking a stance anywhere here. I've said my stance a couple times. I don't want to go deep into my stance. It's just interesting to me that this is a point where Dana's talking about it this much. And it's interesting that these guys press Dana. And by pressing him, I mean that Dana did speak up at one point, and Kevin Iole shut Dana down. He said, hey, Dana, why are you this is what you do every single time. You speak over us and you never let us get our point off. And Dana stood back and said, oh, yeah, you're right. Go ahead.
You could say you don't know anything.
John Jones
you could say we
active.
don't know. No, see, that's what you do. You talk over us, so we can't answer.
I apologize. You go ahead.
And I want to be crossing my fingers. I want to see a couple more of you media guys pull your fucking nuts out and say what you want to say. Like, let it be known. You might get your passes revoked. Don't complain to me when you do. But, hey, at least you stood on business. And that's probably the 5th time I said that phrase, but it's stuck in my head, so I don't know what else to say.
Hey, it's a good phrase, you know? And at the end of the day, dude, that's a phrase I say all the time. The guys in the media, they're working with and to promote your product, you know? Nobody likes to be talked over. Everybody wants to be heard, or at least get their point across before getting shut down or talked about something else. So, yeah, man, respect to those guys. About damn time. Everybody's been swinging for too long and swinging from uncle's nuts for too long over there. So it's good to see. On the other side of it, though, Mr. White did address the John Jones Stipe matchup in a way that I found pretty refreshing. I hope I'm going to rely on Ricky to do clever editing and stuff in this moment, and hopefully it'll be added in. But basically, he says, like, dude, what am I supposed to do? Fuck over Stipe?
So do I just yank it away from Stipe and say, hey, go fuck yourself and sit on the sidelines for 2 more years? Or
I'm just going to shorten it and paraphrase, like, he didn't get anything wrong. He's retiring. He deserves what he deserves. And John wanted to fight him and he wants to fight John. Like, what the, I get your guys' point. If you think I wouldn't want these guys to just fight anybody in the top 5 and just keep it going, of course I do. But I'm not going to disrespect Stipe, and I'm not going to bust off a commitment already made between all of us. When I heard it like that, I was like, okay, I'm fine with it. Ricky, did you gain anything from this little grilling of Dana White?
I mean, the only thing I gained from it is do your job well, have the years that these guys have put in, and build the relationships that allow you to do so, right? Because I promise you, if it had been somebody else who we call them industry plants, right? People who we don't feel are deserving, people that might not have been in this position based off of merit, but more so based off of popularity and some other things that you can allude to, they would never ask this. Why? Because they don't have the confidence, because they don't have the relationship, because they don't have the merit, they haven't put in the hours, haven't put in the work. So credit to these fellows for saying, hey, no, like we've done everything we could. We've presented ourselves the way we've been presenting ourselves. We're good for this company. We're good for our companies. And we're not going to be silenced and shut up because you just want us to stop talking about it. No, we're going to, clap back, if you will. We're going to stand on business, as Sean was saying. And we're going to, make sure that our opinion gets heard as well, or at least our point, not necessarily an opinion, but the point that we're trying to get across is we're going to get it across. Credit. Yeah, and I'm harsh on Dana a lot, but credit to him for looking at who's asking that question and say, okay, you're not a fuck all. You're actually somebody that I have some respect for. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and finish, and then we'll keep the respect going. And that's what journalism is, man. It's building that respect with one another so that you can ask difficult questions, so that you can at least make your point and get an answer from it. And as far as Dana White and John Jones and Stipe and all that, yeah, I've been with Dana on this point. Like, this is the truth, man. The people that are up in arms about, or I would say the majority, I don't want to try to group everybody into one category, but I would say the majority of people who are up in arms about Stipe and John Jones fighting is because they hate John Jones on a personal level, and they want him to lose, and they need to see him lose. And the thought of him going undefeated for his career and walking off to the sunset makes them damn near want to fucking throw up. So who gives us the best shot? Well, the young guy who looks like he has a much better chance at beating John Jones and Tom Aspinall, not Stipe. And that's the truth of the matter. But I'm sorry, guys. The fact is that John isn't his best self either. So to want him to go against the young lion and all that, maybe. But I just talked about putting in your time, getting the respect, getting what you deserve. And if John Jones doesn't deserve to get a big time, big name, old glory type of fight, then nobody ever will. So I like the fact that John Jones gets to call his shot here. And I like the fact that Stipe wants to fight. And last time I checked, nobody's fucking pulling Stipe out from his dungeon. No one's pulling him out from his swimming pool in his house. They're not forcing him to fight. They're not saying, fight or we're going to kill you. He wants to fight John Jones. He wants an opportunity of that glory. And how dare you deny him that opportunity? Let them fight. These are two guys who are past their prime. Yes, John Jones included. This is not the John Jones we saw in the second time he fought DC or the second time he fought Gustafsson. That was damn near a decade ago when those happened. So let them fight. Tom Aspinall is going to create his own story. He's going to create his own legacy if he stays focused and does his thing. And if that includes John Jones, great for him. And if it doesn't, who gives a shit? Tom Aspinall is the next one in line. Let that happen. I've been siding with Dana this whole time on this issue.
That's what's up, man. Well said, dude. Really well said. Sean, you got anything else on this you want to add before switch topics?
No, and if anybody was confused about my stance, not you guys, but just wanted to put it out there, John Jones is the GOAT as of right now. But we need a little bit more time in MMA, and Rob knows that I like his stance, that you can't really determine who a GOAT is until after a certain duration of time is covered. And
100 years.
Hey, that's a good duration. I think we could cut it to like 70. But hey, 100 is good. 100 is good.
Okay.
98.
I just want to be around to see that person, you know?
Okay.
What I mean?
Yeah, I want to be alive to see the greatest.
Here's the thing. Like, I know I'm not going to be able to see it. As a day one fan of the sport, I've already relinquished the right that I'm not going to get to see the greatest of all time in the sport because it's probably just not going to happen in my lifetime. Here's the reason why I say 100 years. Because the NFL just got to have it. And I love the NFL. And if you're American, you should love the NFL too. And even if you don't love the NFL because you're American, because you want to keep your country free of nuclear fucking armament, you should love American football. No, I'm just kidding. The point is, like, football's awesome, but it's also had lots of awesome talent, and it's also had lots of rule changes. Does it sound familiar? Yes, it does. So it's taken 100 years for us to create a actual all-time team, one that is built in a way that the vast majority of us actually look at that list and go, shit, yeah, those are the greatest dudes that ever did it. Because we've had enough time to figure it out. Like, it's just, there we go. I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna stop right there. Uncle Rob's done. All right. Let's go to a thing that I never thought we would be talking about, really, is Tough versus Dana White's Contender Series. Like, what are we doing? What's going on? What's the point? I don't know. I'm kind of lost. But someone who has some ideas, Ricky, go for this, bro.
Yeah, I mean, this was just this is something I wanted to get into just because of obviously the recency of the two. All right, we just saw Dana White Contender Series week 2, 3.
We just did 3. I did the first Spaces watch along this past week. Yay!
So we just had week 3, and I have seen a lot of coverage. I have seen a lot of Dana White Contender Series coverage and posts and videos and just talk communication on X, on my feed, through anybody who is a fight fan, which the majority of people on my feed are fight fans, are UFC fans specifically. And it just led me to believe, like, man, we just had the Tough finale on a card, and we kept talking about, man, remember when this used to mean something? Remember when the Ultimate Fighter was awesome? Remember when we used to have them actually be on a pay-per-view card and headlined by their coaches when it was this big event and it's the Tough finale? This time we had it, and guys, you were in the Spaces with us. We were like, fill us in who these guys are. Why should we care about them again?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the replace? There's a replacement fighter in here. Okay, cool. The guy who got replaced, who never even got a chance to fight in the semi finale, is we're gonna see him anyway in the UFC, because as long as you're in Tough, you're gonna fight in the UFC at some point. It just seems. So it just let me believe, like, man, was Dana White, and I know we've talked about this before, was Dana White Contender Series kind of the death of the Ultimate Fighter? You know, that old video killed the radio star. Like, was Dana White Contender Series what killed the Ultimate Fighter? Because now when you look at the Ultimate Fighter, you're like, I don't even know where these guys, where we bracket them in terms of talent, because if they were really, really good, wouldn't they just be in the Contender Series? Like, so it's like, is the Ultimate Fighter and then the success of the guys from the Ultimate Fighter aren't anywhere near the comparison of the success of the guys who win in the Contender Series, right? We talk about Bo Nickel, we talk about Sean O'Malley, Jamal Hill, and it goes on and on and on. And there's going to be a bunch of guys that we're excited for that are coming in now. Where the Ultimate Fighter, it's like Brian Battle, and then, you know what I mean?
But that's the thing, right? Like not even just world champs. Like, cool, we got some world champs from Dana White Contender Series, but you're just talking about even just filling the roster
Depth
with
of the roster,
names.
yes.
Like, Tough isn't even putting names on charts.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were continue going. I didn't mean to step on your toes.
No, 100%. I mean, that's just what I'm alluding to, is just the Ultimate Fighter is when the Dana White Contender Series has now taken over and people are excited for it, and it seems like it's a really big staple of the UFC itself. where does that leave the Ultimate Fighter? Like, does anybody care? Sean, do you even fucking care about the Ultimate Fighter anymore? Or am I missing something?
No, dude. There's not a chance I've watched even I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you who was. I do think I know who's coaching. That's a lie because everybody knows that. You know what I mean? But I couldn't tell you who was on it. I couldn't tell you the jersey colors. I couldn't tell you any of that for real. It just doesn't interest me right now. I mean, look at I can go on and on about the Connor one last year, how that and we can go on and on about how we can make Tough better. But let's put it as it is. Dana White's Contender Series is the hot product right now. It's get it while it's hot. It's in your face. It's delivering. I am always interested every time it comes around. I think there should be. I like how it's seasonal, like how it's like a little bit, but
yeah,
man, I would be hard pressed to say I don't want this shit every single week of the year. Like it's awesome. It's incredible. We know why we can't get it that much, but yeah, it's what us fight fans I think want right now in a day and age where everything is really fast, really in your face with the new TikTok age, how kids' brains are fucking short circuiting after 5 minutes. Hey, here's Dana White's Contender Series for you. That's not to say though, I've always enjoyed the fact that Tough in the past, and I'm talking old original Toughs, were able to build guys' fight stories up. Let's just put it this way. That was also in a time where social media wasn't big. All these other things weren't big. You had to have Tough. That was your social media. Dana White's Contender Series now, give it a little 5-second story run. I can go on this guy's Instagram page and know all about this guy, and I don't even need that Tough shit anymore. You know what I mean? So we're in a different time. The world's evolved, and I think the product has shifted. That's why I think Dana White's Contender Series is a little bit hotter. Could be wrong. That's just me as a young.
No, man.
You're right.
You're
spot
on
on. And
you're
to your
dead
point too, Sean, you made a really good point with the whole like storyline and stuff like that. Even to be honest with you, even when I think about Tough, like in its glory days, I don't remember like storylines, like building the character, building. What I remember is like the drama. Like who threw whose fucking mattress into the pool, Nate Diaz ready to fight somebody, Tony Ferguson telling somebody where's your kid. Like that's the shit I remember, the drama. And obviously it changes a lot from where Tough was on Spike and Tough was on a few other, and then now I mean they're on Disney now, so yeah, they're not getting them boozed up and trying to get them to fight each other in the house, so it loses that kind of Neanderthal drunken drama that you used to get, which was, you know, you may say what you want to say about it, may not be the best look for these fighters, but it is entertaining and it does help with viewership. And with that taken away too, it's just like, did anybody really care about the backstory of all these guys, or are we just like, can that guy knock somebody out or not? You know what I mean?
That's
sorry,
it.
Rob.
No. I was just real quick. I was gonna say, one, Tough doesn't work if there's no quotables. You can tell when Tough died because people ran out of quotables. When was the quotables that started coming out of the show? It used to be many. Tough also lost its energy when where's the gifts? All the gifts that come from it's like Vanderlei and Wanna Now. Like that's it, right? Like there's not much like that of stuff. So like even though they've been producing the show, there's none of this stuff is transitioning, which is telling you the absorption rate of the content or the impact to the pop culture exchange. It's just not happening. That's all. Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, no, just so not to even. I feel like this is even going more into the history of like TV shows and all of that stuff. But just to hammer that point home, like look at when like shows like the Jersey Shore, for example. I know it's a shitty example, but these are shows that back in that
Great
time,
Laundry, bro. Great Laundry.
Yeah, exactly. Bro. Listen, they're those shows like relatively same time Tough was popping. These shows when Twitter was at the base or Instagram was at the base, neither of those platforms you could put videos out. And I doubt Facebook at the time you could put videos out. So your only video form of content was the show. Everybody on those Twitter or Instagram platforms, that was all reactionary stuff. You would tweet a hashtag and everybody would just see you reacting to the show. So that's how the content was generated back then. And it's a completely different basis now, because how am I going to see a 10-second clip of Tough now in week 6 and I get the storyline and it picks up to me in week 6 because of a 10-second clip that you posted to your social media page, it doesn't hit to me anymore. It doesn't hit the same. Like when you were able to watch those episodes week to week with the fan base, it's different. We're in a different day and age. It's shit has changed, and I think maybe they should flip the pan over and try something new with it. Maybe not get rid of Tough, just change the process, do something else.
Well, there we go. Because we've been talking about that for a while, man. Like the stuff they've been doing different is really just addition by subtraction. They're not doing new stuff. They're just kind of taking away shit they used to do well, which is dumb. This is what they're doing now, and I don't think to answer something Ricky said, I don't think Dana White Contender Series killed Tough. I think Dana White Contender Series showed the complete obsolescence of the Tough format. That it blew it away by format standards. But it's not its fault that it lost its stardom. I think Tough lost its stardom before Dana White Contender Series. People didn't give a shit. Tough was dead back when Contender Series was Dana White's Tuesday Contender, or the dumb long title. I remember it had a stupid long one before. Anyways, it had already died, I think, in my mind. Anyways, what I really want to say is they're not introducing anything new, like at all. I just heard them coming out with new ideas for Contender Series next year. Hey Dana, what if we do 10 shows on the road? What? So you got a show that's red hot.
What do you mean they're not doing anything new, Rob? They got fucking blue gloves now, dude.
No, well, yes, those shits are beautiful, by the way. I'm not dogging that, but I'm just saying they're throwing out fresh ideas. Like, hey, dude, you want to go do this on the road for 10 weeks? Like, bro, we weren't asking for no changes, but you're trying to make it better. And this other thing that over here, we've been fucking waving the flag desperately, like, help, shit's on fire, fucking help us. And so it's just where,
it could be a contractual thing too with ESPN Plus. Like part of the contract is for there to be an Ultimate Fighter, but it might not be producing the numbers. So as we all know, the thing that produces the numbers is going to be the thing that typically gets the attention, or the thing that doesn't produce so well kind of gets thrown by the wayside. So it might be Tough might be on as long as they're with ESPN Plus. When they're done with ESPN Plus, are they going to want to generate a new deal, or even worse, have to pay out of own to keep Tough going? Like that might be the actual death of Tough, where they're like, yeah, it's fucking done now.
And here's the crazy wild thing. We're talking shit from the sidelines over here. At least I am. I'm counting my boys with me. But I don't know what per time zone on a motherfucking Tuesday, like Contender Series might not be too bad, like for its demographic on ESPN. Like, tell me, I know Shad laughing because it did on a Tuesday thing, but like one more time, like once again on a Tuesday, like how much better brand new content do you have for the male demographic that they're targeting? And I know like overall the Tough show is dead, but on a Tuesday, just saying. So we don't know the numbers, and it's who knows, right? Like you said, the numbers, bro, like these are data points that we're gonna have to have better arguments later.
Listen, man, at least Power Slap might actually be beating one thing in viewership, and that's the Ultimate Fighter. That's the only thing Power Slap might be beating.
Right? Like, if you ever spun that, he's like, it's doing better than live programming on ESPN. They're like, what live program is that? Like,
he said it does. He said it does more views than the NBA, NFL, and all other major sports combined.
I'm sure it does. It does better than the Monaco Grand Prix. Yeah, totally.
I said, brother.
Yeah, dude.
What are we talking about? But no, in all seriousness, like the Ultimate Fighter, I mean, you're talking to 3 guys who watch way too much combat sports. None of us watched the Ultimate Fighter this season. If that isn't a big talent, if you did, credit to you, man. You're keeping it going. But God, I just can't fucking force myself.
Don't give them credit. Tell them to stop. You guys are keeping that shit alive. Stop the viewership. Promote change by stopping your viewership.
Yeah, you guys, it's always hard to do, but sometimes it's better to just pull the plug.
Well, there's your advice from Ricky. I want to say thank you. Thank you for that advice. Thank you to everybody. Thank you for your time. Man, guys, any special thanks or whatever you want to throw out there? No, good fuck you to everybody. That's what's up. Nah, in the meantime, for reals though, Tuesday, once again, Contender Series as it still goes. We're going into week 4. So please join us live for that. This coming week doesn't really matter because you'll see this tape delayed. So there's going to be a lull in the UFC fight card action, but it doesn't matter because the weekend after that is going to be massive. So hopefully to see you all in the spaces so we can enjoy the fights together. Oh yeah. Other than that, it's been a good time. We'll see you next time. All right.